At this very moment, the love of God is restraining Do Re Mi and you as a book that was written before the foundations of dry ground. At the exact same time, the wrath of God Almighty was is preparing to come in the clouds. Only the creator is ultimate deception thwarted. It was not possible. It was not possible for the elect to be deceived, or they would have been fooled also. Metonymy, metonymy, a metonym. It means to change the name. Now we're going to look into a lot of things. I had a nice long conversation with RJ last night. We're ready to go. Let's do it then. Sharing the screen, showing the disclaimer. No real new pictures to speak of. There is the thumbnail. Look at. I've shown you these pictures in the Stones crying out. That was an honor, a responsibility, a privilege. Not that one again. Okay, code 38. It looks like I searched as a part of this morning's preparation, airplanes, parts, legal form 38. I couldn't remember what it was when I was working for Bombardier Learjet, trying to streamline their warehouse. And I had to get these training and stuff to where I thought it was something else, not just code 38, So that's what it is. It's every aviation quality related part has to be documented and sworn to legally. This is that legal part that goes on an aeroplane. So there's that. Did I say welcome everybody to Mud Flood was Armageddon? The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Well, I have now. So back to the idea of the situation of this morning's, hey now, what's up? That's what we got going here. My algorithm, the boring one, chosen ones, brainwash, pandemic, politics. Somebody's growing gold. Glorious millennium. What do we got? Well, I have these things, Zapata Falls. I am back exposing DEI thugs at Adams State University. I don't know if anybody else was doing that. I was doing that earlier this year. Back here, came here because this is where the Lord brought me to live through this wrath that is coming. Run away. I'm not gonna, what my dad trained me to be a militiaman, go draw a line in the sand. And well, I think I'm going to be doing the runaway thing. So there was that. Must be something coming up. There it is. This is the president of the university. That when they asked me, what am I doing here? Well, I want to find out why this school seems connected to the Lolita Express and that Epstein And that here in the middle of Colorado, hey, cowboy, hey, cowgirl, what's up? These guys want to make it who has the condom. They tried to kick me out of school. They put me in jail. Well, still, the Lord wasn't finished, but I don't know what you've been doing while we've been trying to expose that it's a flat earth nation of the golden ages past. But, I got a life going on here too. I remember earlier this year, I was explaining, why'd you do this to me?
Modern people joke.
So your two points of where this connects to religion is the Happy Zombie Jesus Day, and when Jess Gagliardi said "stay evil" or "let's
have a good weekend, keep it evil," and that's a joke too. That was supposed to be a joke.
So these are,
came to the
this is how you document these things in real life. If you really are the Salt Paco, and really did bring this message forward, for you'll see these scriptures. How deep does the deception run? What could the beast and the false prophet do? Bring things to life, the same word pneuma. Yeah, this is your scariest lesson yet, because it's where we are right now. This is my life. I don't know what you're doing trying to sell books. I'm talking to Paul Stoops right now and people like that. You need people like me to tell other people that if Paul didn't completely make up that story about taking mushrooms and entities, the same entities coming to him and him figuring out the clown thing, it's highly embellished. None of it is biblical or scriptural. That's been my position, and that people do that. They're deceived. They need to make money. Mommy's working. Baby need food. I going to come out against mushrooms, be religious. It's a conspiracy. It's throwing whatever it wasn't from Jesus Christ, the creator of the universe, that warned us about these deceptions. It took these people 4 years to finally figure out that I wasn't being mean when I told them preterism is already taken as a term. It was invented by the Jesuits. We can't call ourselves preterists. And that was too much for them. They weren't willing to suffer that much of being insulted. Like, what? Well, now you have to go through these scriptures with me and find out what the elect was saved from, what type of a deception. So it was this will come in later, because, I don't know what you did, but before I retired at age 55, I was doing these type of things. Consulting people, fixing warehouses, coaching volleyball. Let's look at this. What is demoralized shall fail? We'll take them in the way the Lord gave. Remember, preached last night, had counsel, talked with RJ. We talked about scripture, and now I'm preaching this morning because I'm busy. I got things to do. I got papers to write, spread out, depopulate. Oh man, the Lord maketh the earth empty, completely, the land will be utterly emptied, laid waste. I will make completely void the counsel. Empty vine, a luxuriant vine, really, New American Standard. That's terrible. The emptiers, the devastators, what in the world are we talking about? The Lord lays empty. 3 times it was used here exactly, but it is the same word. Distorts. He makes it way. the earth makes him to Yahweh. Behold, inhabitants, anything that scatters, they're just gone, baby. Behold, the Lord will empty the earth and make it desolate, and he will twist its surface and scatter its inhabitants. And I guess there will be a very narrow road. Did I start there? Yes, God's judgment on the earth. The earth mourneth, fadeth away. Lofty people of the earth do what? Languish. They're going to be voided. Let's see what we had next. So there's the second beast. He saw this beast rising out of the earth, two horns, exercising all authority. While it spoke like a dragon, it exercised all the authority of the first beast. So this is another beast in its presence, and makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. That doesn't sound good. Whose mortal wound was healed. Something had died, and they think it lives again, going by another name. This won't be that long, but it is going to, you're going to have to sneak up on it. It performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people. And by the signs that it is allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived. And it was a lot. What? So back to it, that the image of the beast that the people made, and it was allowed to give pneuma. That is the straight up. That I'll show you. That it was able to give pneuma to this image of the beast, so that the image that was created by those people who were worshiping it, so that the image of the beast might even speak and might, because it has that same pneuma, might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Wow. It also causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked. It's going to stop them from buying or selling unless they had that mark. It's the name of the beast. It's the number of a man. Wow. Did I start there? Well, I guess so, because that's how I usually find the book of Revelation and go to the chapter I'm looking for. Prolonged form of an otherwise obsolete verb to utter words. Proclaim, speak forth, speak. You shall speak. When spoken to, he says, she says, cause to speak to occurrences out of the 207, it's this one. Revelation 13:15. They caused it to speak like that. Remember where we were? There's 297. It sounded like in Matthew, as he was saying this, behold, and that person that Jesus healed, they heard words. It sounded like words that people speak. And it wasn't a people. It was something that image likeness, in whose likeness, wow, and the Christ Messiah is the image and glory of, well, it is what we call the Gospel of John, chapter 4, verse 24 says, God is a spirit. And so, but when this spirit has image, it's Jesus. And, oh, but so is the beast's image too. It was like that. So this is something that unless the love of God constrains you and you are one of those who were dead and made alive, that you can recognize that you wouldn't even understand, because like I said, it's the same image. It could speak. It's that they don't know the difference, and it's going to cause something. It's going to do it. It does it. For whoever shall do the will. Well, it's good or bad. They're honestly not going to be thinking they're the bad guys when they kill you. They're going to be thinking, I'm saving my baby from getting ivermectin. Not laughing at it, well, trying not to. That's not my job. I'm not a laugher at her. What else have we got? This is crazy. So it's going to cause that as many as would worship, they'll be killed. Now, if I go back to the whole, let's look at it in the English Standard, because, well, we were just here, make the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, performs great signs, fire coming down, presence, making the image. Wow. Let's see what I got next. What is this? What so easily entangles us? Something thwarting us. Look at all these words in the Greek that can be thwart. In the Greek, 2139, 1143, 483, 4,570. Oh man, where's Nikola Tesla? 396, 1 and 114. Thwart, thwartity, thwart. I wanted to look it up. So I kept going. Reject, refuse. How'd I get here? That's one of those words for thwarting. They'll show you down here where they go through the words of how they do it. Where's the thwart? Well, this is New American Standard. We'll probably find thwart over here. Reject, set aside, nullify, disannul. It's a form of thwarting. Possible suffix, it looks like. So that's one of them. Somebody's trying to thwart. Somebody's got authority. Oh, so this thwart can also mean trodden down, trampled under, because this is that one. Remember I said, hey, Tesla 3961. Now you remember. So this was on that thwart thing, He treads. This is all about a judgment, and thank God we haven't been blotted out of the book of life, or we wouldn't still be looking into it. We want to die in faith. Is this another one? Yep, 4570. He will not thwart, will not put out. The smoldering will not get put out. He's coming to judge us. That's right. With that fire of judgment. He wished it was already kindled, didn't he? It's not going to be quenched. It's not going to be quenched or thwarted. Some things will not be thwarted. Thwarter. You're not a thwarter unless, well, we've all been Hegelian dialectic, deny, gainsay, speak again, contradict, thwart, in a way. Is that 114? No, that's the 483. Anti-lego, to gainsay. It's a way of thwarting. Oh no, don't speak against Caesar. Don't thwart the power of the power. Well, it has something to do with thwart. They don't like to talk about thwarting too much. You bite, you devour, thwart, figuratively. Okay, I get it. Finally, I get it. Galatians 5:15. I'm going to start at 14. For the whole law is fulfilled in one word, which this means one saying. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, watch out that you are not consumed by one another. Unfortunately, a lot of people wouldn't make that tie-in that very, on the, relatively speaking, soon people will be devouring each other in the big cities. Go without power, go without food for 8 days, and they start eating each other. On average, it takes about 8 days with no food before they go, Billy looks yummy, or something, pick a name. Hey, Rocky. Hi, Marcus. Hola, ¿qué pasa? Revelation 13, we're saving that. We just read that. But go ahead, walk in the Spirit. That doesn't involve that gratifying of the desires of the flesh. Rolling. Oh, look, she knows what menominee is. Menonyms. These are people at a conference speaking a different language, commenting in English on Good Morning Britain, breaking it down so you know what she means by when they use other terms. I'll turn on the closed caption. It's because it's not your local colloquial English. Go.
This nuisance. You see that Monbiot takes off his glasses. He rubs his eyes and he starts to sob. When asked why he was crying, Monbiot replied, "This is the end of everything we dreamed of for our children. Everything could be destroyed. The planet could suddenly go from being habitable to being uninhabitable." Now, the environmental activist who let his tears flow on TV, and the frustrated journalist who tries to explain the angry reactions of motorists, I think this encounter or failed encounter can serve as metonyms for the parallel worlds in which we live today.
I just think that Yote, I tend to listen to her more because she doesn't have tattooed sleeves.
For Monbiot, there is no doubt that a global environmental disaster will occur sooner or later. And this insight is infinitely more important than the everyday concerns that Neeson worries about. In the world that Neeson tries to evoke, it is the hassle of everyday life that needs to be understood. It's It's the hassle of everyday life that is being misunderstood, not least by environmental activists like Monbiot.
Is this something to argue about? Are we going to get to hear Big Eyes say something here? I mean, I want to hear what her quote is. Oh, she's just showing him crying.
I will argue that it gives rise, these trials of coexistence in post-normal societies, to a very particular problem of solidarity. And that it is.
Who are you going to solidify with? Do you agree that this is very post-normal? It would seem, here's the refresher, not a metalepsis or a syndeche. Menemy is like going saying like, man, if the Pentagon doesn't back off, our country's going to be broker than it already is, referring to the Pentagon as anybody in power of the military, you know. President Trump, like President Obama, uses the Pentagon to back up his foreign policy. So, figure of speech. There's words for all of these things. They've been using it as a change of name ever since they wanted to reinstitute the ISIS worship of Columbia, Matilda, Mariana, whatever the goddess that was assigned to your nation is, you know, it's another name for what they got going on. That's all really, you're up to speed, you know, we don't want to get into, you know, what a metaphor is, you know, or irony. Do you know irony, isn't it ironically that they've changed the definition of irony? Kinda. Look, these are, remember how we used to go, these are rocks. And then I'd say, hey, look, this is a real heart. And I'd go out and find a rock, look like it, cut it up and say, hey, so that must be this part and that biogeology. RJ is my witness. We did that. We drilled these rocks. We showed they were hearts. You know, he came out to Colorado and helped me because that's the way the Lord said, you know what, we believed in the Bible. We think it should be, anyway, look at that, 2,000 gallons a day. This little thing in their world pumps 2,000 gallons a day. Am I sharing the screen? Because I want to look you in the eye and go, that pumps? No, what they don't understand and what you don't understand, what I tried to tie in with the title is the life is in the blood. Your blood controls your vessel for now, but you are a spirit. You will be changed through metamorphosis. That's put on your heart. That it is a very specific God who a lot of people will be able to do miracles in his name, but he never knew them. Important distinction, something to think about. The heart, I know where my heart is and what I'm trying to expose. And while I'm doing the Bible and everything else, I've been exposing this college as the militant lesbian capital of the Midwest. Why is it here? Because this is where I said I'm coming. I'll look you in the eye again. These are my mountains. I'm going to be the elder here. This is going to happen. Your cities are burning. Your neighbors will eat each other. I want to have old people and children living in caves saying, here's some water. It doesn't have any fluoride in it. Glad your children still haven't been exposed to a 5G microwave yet in their short lives. These things are going to happen whether Clown Boy or the rest of the poser hanger-oners think they can get by writing books living in the city. It's as stupid as I just tried to make it sound. These are your hearts. You think it can pump this much? Go.
For example, an average male marathoner can pump up to 30 liters of blood per minute during exercise, with some elite athletes being clocked as high as pumping 40 liters per minute. So today, we're going to take you on a tour of the heart. We're going to show you the valves, the heart muscle, the chambers.
Yeah, I've shown you all of those in the stones that are reserved in judgment because we are living stones. That's a very special message for a very special type of elect predestined people who have found themselves on their knees for no apparent reason, believing in their heart that Jesus Christ was Lord. They were elected, they were predestined, they were adopted, they were called. They had no choice but to be on their knees, confessing with their mouth out loud what they now know in their heart. Jesus Christ is God, he is Lord. That's the difference right there. All the rest of it is the utter nonsense. Go, heart boy.
Of the heart, and even show you how the blood flows through the heart so that we can appreciate how this incredible organ pumps millions of gallons of blood throughout our lifetime. Cardiac anatomical awesomeness awaits us. So let's do this.
I'm not, I showed
Here
the
we have
copyright
four
thing.
hearts here.
These are rocks, all dead when they were taken out. They were not caught in motion by Brak, the lightning sword, the glittering sword that changes flesh into stone. I'm not going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and tell you and show you you're a living stone capable of building up gold, silver, and precious stones, or wood, hay, and stubble, because you already know it. You're going to flip them over and you're going to go like, hey, those are my rocks. This heart right here is ready to be unfolded like the Gordian knot. It is the myocardial band. I'm not going to look it up. You can look it up later. We've talked about it literally 100 times. Flip the
The reason
emoji.
we have four here is because based on the dissection, we'll use different hearts here, but I've laid them all out essentially in the same way, meaning you can see the apex of each individual heart here, the tip right there. But what I love doing with students is showing them certain surfaces of the heart here. Let me do it like this. Now, if you look closely, you can see there's this flat surface on each one of these hearts here. Now, they're obviously different, slightly different.
The first time you heard it, I was showing these examples with rocks. True love. No, this is from last night. There is a true north. I'm going to be looking at Luke 21, because the last thing we want to do is end up like some of them, weighed down with dissipation. Yikes. So I'm looking at that. He's going to do Matthew 24 Sunday morning. Please join us.
Might not any one have saved mankind by pulling up the stakes or filling up the ditch and crying to his fellows, beware of listening to this impostor. You are undone if you once forget that the fruits of the earth belong to us all and the earth itself to nobody.
Wrong. Couldn't be more wrong. Have you ever heard of Shiloh? It's not enough to be aware, oh, they're out to get my money. Who is this guy? What did you write?
Of land as an asset. I thought it was something that hadn't been well covered. It's a book that covers the last 300 or 400 years, most of all.
Oh, you mean
And-
the last 320 so far, on our way to 335? Or no, 325 so far. Yeah, so it's like 325, not the 300 or 400. Since Satan's been loose and they were deceiving he has to make the nations, didn't he? He did it by people saying, I own land. Go, nerd.
It engages with the development of land in finance, how land became very tightly bound up with finance, how that's applied itself in politics and banking and financial crises in various parts of the world over that period, from the development of land as an asset really in colonial North America, to how it's used in governing and fiscal policy in East Asia today, why it's such a big problem for China, why it derailed Japan's rise. Yeah, that is basically the potted history of the book.
Listen to this.
So,
Rousseau.
it's funny when I was thinking about this. I'm not known to be a big Rousseau fan, but the famous quote from his second discourse on inequality is, "The first man who, having enclosed a piece of ground, bethought himself of saying, 'This is mine,' and found people simple enough to believe him, was the real founder of civil society." And he's not saying that in a good way. From how many crimes, wars, murders, for how many horrors and misfortunes might not any one have saved mankind by pulling up the stakes or filling up the ditch and crying to his fellows, "Beware of listening to this impostor. You are undone if you once forget that the fruits of the earth belong to us all, and the earth itself to none."
So right there's when I was going like, wrong, you know, because I was led to go like, wait a minute, everything is Christ's, plural, you know, possessive. Shiloh. I got to look it up. What is the meaning of Shiloh? Best interpreted as the Messiah? Nah. Shiloh symbolizes the everlasting ruler fulfilled in Jesus Christ. I don't know. Nah, not partially. In summary, Shiloh is a profound and prophetic name. No. What is the meaning of Shiloh in Genesis 49:10? Shiloh, significant prophetic name. Name appears in Genesis 49:10, where Jacob on his deathbed blesses the patriarchs, prophesying over them, "Glad I wasn't Dan." Shiloh is associated with the coming of a ruler from the tribe of Judah, open quote from Genesis 49:10 in the Berean Standard Version. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until Shiloh comes to him. And to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. Let's look at that. Doesn't that sound very interesting? He's leaning on his staff while this is all happening. Hey, Reuben, you incestuous firstborn, strong as an ox, normally smart, but you know, you got led away by the woo-hoo. First fruits of your strength, preeminent. You know, you weren't always the susceptible horn dog. You preeminent in power, you unstable as water thing. You went up and uncovered my bed, man. Hey, Simeon and Levi, let's do this together. Weapons of violence. Uh-oh. Okay, let my soul come not into their counsel. Wow, okay. For in their anger they killed men, in their willfulness they hamstrung oxen. That basically means for no apparent reason. Okay. Well, Judah, you're not up against much so far. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Well, there you go. Even though that whole Tamar stuff, you lion's cub, you know, swooped down, Judah crouched as a lion. Woo, scepter shall not depart from Judah. Tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. They're talking about Messiah. He gets quite the thing, you know, quite the prophecy. Zebulun, there you go, haven for ships. Issachar, you big strong donkey. I like Naphtali. He's out there making food. You know, Dan, yeah. Ew. Gad, raid at their hills. Sounds very interesting. Asher is the one, not Naphtali. Asher's the one that yields those royal delicacies. Beware if you're a man of appetite and you sit at the king's table, put a knife to your throat when he offers you delicacies. Naphtali is a doe let loose that bears beautiful fawns. Okay, there's that. The mighty one of archers, Joseph. Okay, another fighting crew here. They like to fight. They're fighters. All right. Shiloh, though, biblical city, according when you look it up in their history, they positively have identified it as what they call now Helbethalium, Sinam, 19 miles from Faux Jerusalem. So it's all fake. Honestly, if you look up Shiloh, you're going to get, a few pictures. I had to dig. Look, there's finally a picture of that city in Shiloh. But usually, if you look up Shiloh, you'll get pictures of Angelina Jolie, who was briefly married to Brad Pitt. Pictures of this is the new Shiloh. These two made this, her. Shiloh. This is the new Shiloh. Okay. Shiloh 2023. It looks like they grow some vegetables around it. They have some sort of a tent. So if this person needs to sit here and pretend to work, if they get a tourist, he can hustle down here, and it doesn't look like that, the real Shiloh here. So in the Bible, the Shiloh, the biblical city, well, that's fake. These are everywhere. And they can rebuild them. They take them from one place, put them in another. They're made like Legos. They just disassemble them, put them up, or they find them everywhere and call it, well, this was Roman influenced. Well, definitely Rome, and Romans are a big part of the New Testament. Is that really the circle of life? Isn't that what they call it? So there it is right there. And I mean, this is right. I mean, it's over, that whole book of Genesis thing. Now, if I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, my father made me swear. He's going to go back and not get cremated, but be laid to rest. So these things happen. This is our life. Now I have to rewrite a story about the Robin Hood of Colorado. It's all part of the process. First, you get a grade on your draft, and you get a grade on your rewrite, and then your finished product gets graded. So I have to do that while they know I'm the Salt Paco trying to expose them for being a militant lesbian school. What are you doing with your life? Selling books on things that I think you made up. Calling things preterism, even though I warned you, preterism was a Jesuit thing. Louis Alcazar made that up. And finally coming to grips with it now and going like, well, now all we got to figure out is how to get to the North Pole. No, there's two roads. One's very narrow. And I believe it teaches that the mud flood was Armageddon. Flat Earth nation, the golden age is past. They added 1,000 years. You got an orphan trained brain. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. We know we're called, chosen. We believed in our heart, confessed with our mouth that Jesus is Lord. If you hear his voice, listen and keep listening, because many are called, few are chosen. Amen. Hallelujah. aho, aloha, arrivederci, ciao, sayonara, auf Wiedersehen, nakame, adios, amigos. Sometimes I say goodbye like that.